bringing Gator Nation a different Gator great every episode.
This is Jabbar Gaffney. You're listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
Hey, I'm Earl Everett. You're not a Gator, you're Gator bait.
This is Bo Carroll.
Hey, I'm Rita Anthony.
This is Chris Rainey.
This is Theatric Facing, a.k.a. C4.
This is Jack Jackson. Go Gators, the real number one.
Hey, man, this is Chad Jackson, and you're listening to All for the Gators, man, here. Go Gators.
Hey, this is Jeff Chandler, the all-time leading scorer in Florida football history.
This is Tony George. Go Gators.
Hey, guys, this is Jarvis Moss. Go Gators.
Johnny Rutledge here, and you are listening to All for the Gators podcast.
This is Ben Trooper. You listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
This is Chris Doring, and you're listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
Well, isn't this fun?
Always fun.
That's the way to start a show.
Yeah, we get to do this every week. Who's got it better than us?
Oh my gosh.
Not many. This is pretty cool.
Well, the ones that get paid, I guess, might have it a little better, right?
I feel like the kid from Where the Millers. Someone's getting paid for this?
Yeah, someone somewhere is getting paid to talk to Gator greats. It's not us.
Oh, that's okay.
We do it for the love of the Gators.
That's right.
We're not in it for the money. We're in it for the love of the Gators.
All right, so King of DBU brackets is over. We've anointed a King of DBU fan vote bracket by fan vote on social media. And once again, the outpouring of anger and vile that spews out on social media happened once again. And when this happens, when we do our fan vote brackets, we celebrate it, right?
Oh, of course.
We don't get offended.
No.
Absolutely not.
That's the fun of it.
Yes.
So we do a segment called
Angry Post.
You ready, guys?
Always ready for the angry posts.
All right.
Always ready. My favorite part.
I'm going to text you guys one right now, and this one is for Sid. You're going to kick it off.
Okay. I like kickoffs.
All right, here we go. And these are all from Gator groups on Facebook. So maybe the disgruntled and, curmudgeoned Gator fans are all on Facebook and not the other social media. But anyway, here you go, Sid.
All right. First angry post. Obviously, this poll was put together by the social media demographic group, as many of the winners are recent players and don't know the greats from the good old days. Laughable bracket. Ouch. Well, thank you, Mr. Jeff Acker, for sharing your feelings.
He's not wrong.
I like the close. Laughable bracket. Yeah. Love it.
He's not wrong, though. He's not wrong. All right, I'm going to read the next one.
Okay.
All right, this is...
Uh-oh, that means I'm getting a good one.
Joey, he knows it. Joey Reynolds, with 3 M's. No. Think people need to read stats rather than making it a popularity contest. I like KR. He's talking about Keiwan Ratliff. Was an awesome player and Gator.
Yes.
But his stats are nowhere near Joe's over their careers. So Keiwan Ratliff was in the finals against Joe Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
And Keiwan won. Keiwan Ratliff is the king of DBU. He won it all.
Long live the king.
But this guy is not happy about it. So if you look, who's got more interceptions? Keiwan Ratliff.
Ouch.
Who's got the most touchdowns? All-purpose touchdowns. Who's got the most punt return yards? Who's got school records? Who's got SEC Defensive Player of the Year? I mean, we can keep going on and on about Keiwan. There's no way he doesn't compare with Joe Hayden. Not taking anything away from Joe Hayden, but very credible winner of the King of DBU bracket. So this is Angry Posts, and we're going to let Andy cap it off here.
Oh, here we go. Let's see.
I swear, I think we read one of his last time, too.
All right. Here we go, Mr. Richard Hartline. The first line. This fan's favorite vote is a joke. When past All-Americans can't even get in the top 16, whoever put this list together ought to know at least a little about Florida football history.
I did a lot of research, and it took me a long time to really cap off these 16 players. But in the end, when I looked at all their accolades and I looked at all their stats and I looked at, well, maybe they're a little more active on social media. Might help us, right? So this is what I think we do. The next fan vote bracket we do, I think we state for legal purposes that it's not endorsed by Richard Hartline.
Oh, God.
You guys agree?
I'm with it.
Yes. But Richard Hartline, please keep listening, and we welcome your feedback. Not necessarily agreeing with it, but we absolutely welcome it.
We got to give him credit for paying attention and actively participating. I do think that's worth something.
Okay, good. Good point. Only on Facebook. That's odd. The Twitter's cool. The Instagram is cool for the most part.
Do you put the in front of them? Is that how you say it now? The Instagram and
I think
the
it's
Twitter?
You're supposed to say IG, right? No, Insta. What am I talking about? Sid, you have teenage girls. You should know all this.
Oh, please. I knew nothing about teenage girls when we were teenagers, and I know even less now that I have two of my own. Come on now.
All right. King of DBU fan vote bracket, All for the Gators podcast, won by Mr. Keiwan Ratliff. And ladies and gentlemen, what a show we have for you today, because our guest, our Gator Great legend, happens to be the king of DBU.
Long live the king.
Well, I got one word for you guys today: playmaker. This Gator Great made all the plays. Hailing from Northern Ohio, he played both sides of the ball at Whitehall Yearling High, where he collected 88 passes for over 1,600 yards, 25 touchdowns as a receiver, and 9 interceptions at corner on D between his junior and senior years. By his senior year in '98, he was All-State, All-American, and his conference's Player of the Year. He brought his Swiss Army knife of a skill set down to the swamp, where he would become one of the most exhilarating, feared, one of the greatest players to ever don the orange and blue. You want accolades? Take notes, gentlemen. No Gator has ever caught more interceptions in a single game, a single season, and he sits at 6th on the all-time interceptions list. He set UF's then all-time punt return yardage record with 860. First team All-SEC in 02 and 03, consensus All-American, and SEC Defensive Player of the Year in 03. He would go on to a nice 7-year NFL career as well. Gator Nation, it is my honor and pleasure to give you one of the most dynamic ballers to tout the prestigious #1 and recently anointed King of DBU by our listeners, UF Hall of Famer, Mr. Keiwan Ratliff.
Yeah. What an intro.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk after that.
No, you're done, man. You drop the mic and you just hang up on us.
Listen, that was greatly appreciated. I promise you, that was probably the best introduction I've ever had in my life.
I've been offered some deals to be hype men for some of our guests, so just letting you know. I'm kidding. Keiwan, so glad that we can make this happen. Thanks for taking the time. And King of DBU, how's it feel to be remembered so fondly by Gator Nation 20 years after you roamed the swamp?
Honestly, it's an undescribable feeling. I mean, I feel young. I feel like I act like I'm young still. I try to act young, but when I think back on it, and it's been 20 years, it's been a long time, but to still be remembered and still be talked about and still have people making highlight tapes of things I did, it seems like yesterday, but was so long ago, it is unbelievable.
And those were some insane high school stats in that intro. A 2-way player, really a 3-way player, All-American, Player of the Year. Did anyone else on the team get to touch the ball, or were you a one-man show?
Honestly, I attribute that to my high school coach. We weren't the best team. We didn't have, the most talent. So he used me and moved me around in ways to get the best way to get me the ball. If a team was good against the run, he would put me at receiver. If they were good against the pass, he would put me at running back or quarterback. And I mean, he found ways to get me the ball, and he found ways to feature me, and it helped me get to where I ended up landing at in Gainesville.
Being born in Youngstown, Ohio, it's a huge football city. They won 4 Division I championships in the 90s under Coach Jim Tressel, who obviously later coached pretty well at Ohio State. How close were you to being a Buckeye instead of a Gator? And what was the recruitment like there, being on home turf up there?
Well, back then, I mean, Coach Tressel was at YSU, or Youngstown State, and that's where I was growing up, in Youngstown. So I was a YSU fan growing up. I watched them win national championships at Youngstown State. So, and being in Northeast Ohio and in the Big Ten country, of course, Ohio State was prevalent, but I grew up, honestly, a Penn State fan. So I watched the guys like DJ Dozier and those type guys growing up. So I honestly rooted against Ohio State. And so they were a school that I looked at, but they weren't, like, in my mind, like the end-all, be-all schools like most people in Ohio thought growing up.
Did Tressel ever try to recruit you to Youngstown State?
No, at that time they didn't. By the time I started getting recruited, I don't think YSU thought that they had a chance. So he didn't recruit me at that point.
Makes sense.
So what made you pick the Gators?
Honestly, it was I have no idea. At the time, Coach Spurrier came in. It was really Coach Stoops was the one that opened the door. Coach Stoops saw my name in the Tom Lemming recruiting book and seen the last name Ratliff, seen the stats that you just said. My high school career was over. My senior year was over. I was at basketball practice, and he called the high school coach. Asked him, asked me if I knew Chucky Ratliff. I said, yes, that was my dad. He said, hey, if you half as good as your dad, the University of Florida going to recruit you. I'm going to send somebody to come see you. Coach Dixon, Dwayne Dixon, wide receiver coach, came to see me at basketball practice. I guess he liked what he saw. He went back, told Coach Stoops. Coach Spurrier came and saw me at a basketball game. They offered me a scholarship. And that's what opened the door for Florida to come in and recruit me. But it was Coach Spurrier. It was Florida. It was just different. I had been on a lot of recruiting visits, and it was all Big Ten northern schools. But when I went to Florida, it was just something different about Florida that I felt like I fit.
Okay, so you get to Gainesville in 2000. We had Lito on the show. He mentioned you were supposed to come in with him.
I actually came in 99. I was there for a month in 99. I went through the summer conditioning. I went through the hazing. I went through all of the things that the freshmen went through in 99. And right before we got into camp and everything else, we started doing everything, the real football stuff, I got sent home for my ACT score. So there's a joke at UF where the 99 and the 2000 class called me 99 and a half because I came in 99, got sent back, and then I ended up coming back in 2000.
Okay.
One thing we haven't had on the show yet is a good hazing story. You gonna share one of those hazing stories with us?
I'll give you one, but I won't give you names.
That's fair.
Okay.
We can live with that.
It's probably 11 o'clock at night. It's a Sunday. School starts on Monday. So the freshmen get their head shaved before school starts. So one of the freshmen is sitting in his dorm room, just laying in the bed. He has a female companion in the room with him. And at the time, in 95, the dorms, you can get through the bathroom doors from another room. So there's two rooms that share a bathroom. So somehow some of the players on the team get through the other door, come through the bathroom, bust in the door. Guys in the bed laying, like I said, with the female. He gets snatched out the bed, beat up, room gets trashed. And there's a poster on the wall at the time. The poster is the Destiny's Child poster. And everybody at that time was a fan of Destiny's Child, so his poster got stole. That ended up becoming a problem, so he confronted one of the guys who took the poster, and that player ended up having to get stitches.
Oh.
And so that was that was some of the hazing that was going on at the time. That was, like I said, that was years and years ago. It was all in fun, I guess, for the most part. But,
did they let the girl out of the room?
Oh, she ran out the room. She saw what was about to go down, and she ran out. Like, she knew what it was. But that was just all because he got drug out the room, brought downstairs, and his head shaved, and like the whole team was out there. It was like a ritual that they did every year. So it was some guys that didn't want to get their head shaved, so they would fight, and one guy ended up getting his eyebrows shaved. So it's it was things that made you bond with your classmates, because you would see your other classmates out there already that they already got pulled out, and it's like, oh man, all of us getting it. So it was like one of those things to where you bonded with your classmates through all of the hazing.
Aside from adventures at the makeshift barbershop, what were some of your biggest challenges there as a freshman, your 99 and a half year? What do you remember about that?
My biggest challenges was, I guess, overcoming all of the obstacles that I had. I was already undersized. I came in, I was probably, in 99 when I got there, I was probably 160, 161. When I came back in 2000, I was probably 164, 165. So I was already undersized. I had never lifted weights. I didn't do the things that, like an undersized athlete you would think would do in order to be prepared and be advanced over guys to overcome those things, I guess. So I had those things to overcome. I had to overcome the challenges of being away from home. I had to overcome the challenges of just a new life. Like it was, my mom did everything for me my whole life. So now I had to learn to wash clothes. I knew how to do dishes and things like that, but to cook and to fend for myself miles and miles away from home. So those were the things that I had to overcome. But once the football part became the football part, everything fell in place.
Well, let's talk about 2000 when you make your return. And it was something I was wondering in doing my research. There was no shortage of dynamic Gator kick returners at that point, right? You got yourself there, you got Lido, Bo Carroll still there. So who decided, who went in to return a kick? How was that dictated? Did Spurrier just call out your number?
Honestly, Coach Spurrier, when it came to return and things like that, Coach Spurrier only said no. He never said yes. Like he wasn't the guy that picked the guys to go in, but if he saw a guy in that he didn't want in, he would pull him. At that time, that was more on Coach Dixon. That was more on who he trusted to handle the ball, and that came from practice. When you got in practice and you went through drills and you did all those reps that you thought were just practice reps, all those were counted, all those were calculated. So by the numbers, guys went in on who they trusted to handle the ball.
All right, so that year in 2000, the Gators go 10-3. You get switched from receiver to corner in fall camp, but you get in all 12 games at corner and on special teams. Were there any kind of specific teammates or plays on the field that season that really helped you develop?
That's a great question. It's funny you asked that because you just had a guy on the show that I could attest to changing my career, Lido Shepherd.
Okay.
My freshman year, I was like you said, I got moved to DB, and that was because of need, I guess, on the defensive side. So I didn't come to Florida to play DB. I came to play for Coach Spurrier. So when I was asked to play DB, it was one of those, all right, well, I ain't going to get on the field at receiver this year. And they're telling me I get on the field at DB. I guess I want to play, so I'll play at DB this year, but I'll go back to wide receiver next year. That was the mentality I had. And watching Lido that year and watching how he attacked the game and played the game, it made DB look fun to me. It made DB seem exciting. It wasn't the DB that I had in my mind of, all right, you just go eliminate this man. He was actually playing the game and thinking and actually like taking chances off of things he saw on film and things he thought was going to happen, which made DB seem exciting and fun to me.
So is it fair to say if there's no Lido Shepherd, then Keiwan maybe doesn't end up as successful a Gator?
If there's no Lido Shepherd, Keiwan Ratliff probably transfers from Florida.
Huh. Thank you, friend of the show, Lido, for allowing that to not happen.
Well, that year, you win Spurrier's last SEC championship with the Gators and by beating Auburn. You had 4 tackles in that game. What memories of the game stick out in your mind?
Those tackles were at free safety. They threw me in at free safety, and they weren't throwing the ball. They were running the ball with Heath Evans and Rudy Johnson. And
oh, man.
And like I said, I came to play wide receiver. I didn't come to tackle fullbacks at open field. So that memory sticks out.
I bet. And you would become teammates with Rudy Johnson in the future.
Yeah, Rudy Johnson is my guy. We were in Cincinnati together for years.
All right, so you mentioned you were undersized, didn't quite do some of the things that maybe an undersized guy would do to prepare. Going into that off season after that first year, was there anything you felt you needed to work on to kind of move up in the depth chart?
Honestly, for me, it was all about mentality. Once I clicked in and bought into being a DB, then I think that things started falling into place. And honestly, even that year, I still hadn't bought in as a DB. I still thought I was a wide receiver in the offseason and one-on-ones and the team-led pass scales, and I did wide receiver. I really believed that I was a wide receiver.
Going into the next season, 2001, now that's sort of an infamous year for Gator Nation, and we've had many conversations about it with a lot of your teammates on this show, Jabbar, Lito, Kite, and others. And they all say that was the best team to not win a national championship, even better maybe than some that did. How do you look back at that team in that year?
I mean, looking back on it now, that was a year we blew. I mean, I agree with all those guys, but you know, I still steal this one from my boy Coach Zook. If my nope, I can't say it nowadays. I'd get in trouble if I said the joke.
You gonna get us canceled?
yeah, it might be a little problem on that joke. But no, so I mean, we were loaded at all positions. Like if you look at the D line, linebacker, DBs, wide receivers, running back, quarterback, O line, tight end, like kicker, every position we had NFL talent.
Absolutely.
So that was a team that, circumstances being different with 9/11, outcomes may be a little different. But once again, that's the ifs and buts, and I hate debating ifs and buts.
Well, ifs and buts. I mean, we're talking about 5 points here. We lost to Auburn by 3, Tennessee by 2. Clearly, they just need to put you out there every single play. I'm sure you could have broken up one of those, and one of those 7s could have been a 3 for the other team. Then we're in the championship game, right?
listen, and that game, that wasn't a game built for me. they came in there and they just said, we're gonna run the ball down your throat. So if they came in there and they were trying to throw it to Dante Stallworth and Kelly Jennings and Leonard Scott and those guys, then now I could have helped change that outcome. But handing the ball to Travis Stevens and running behind that big old line, it's a good game plan. It obviously it worked.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a season of what ifs, but anyway, you earned most improved DB in the spring that season. You get in all 11 games. You kind of start to play a significant role, really, both at corner and returning kicks. You start week 1 versus Marshall, but you don't get the quote-unquote start the rest of the year, even though you played in every game. Can you tell us kind of what went into those starting decisions?
Well, honestly, we had a lot of talent at that time. Like, and on that team, you had Benny Alexander and Robert Camardi, who both started every game as freshmen and redshirt freshmen. You had Lito Shepherd, who was all-world, All-American, future first-round draft pick. You had Marquise Westbrook, who was a smart, instinctive player who, for whatever reason, never really got a chance to showcase it on the field. And these were all guys that were older than me, that were proven, that had played. So with me being not bought in all the way at the position, when I got moved over there, still arguing and going in there and debating with coaches to play wide receiver, it was a learning curve for me to go over and play for Coach Hoke, especially in the way he demanded the players to play. So, I wasn't upset with the playing time or saying I should have been in front of these guys or any of that, because in my mind, I shouldn't have been. Like, I hadn't bought into the position and I hadn't bought into the defensive scheme to where I should be a starter. So that season, Coach Spurrier, once again, influenced them to play me more. So Coach Hoke put in a penny package. Penny, I guess, because I was number 1. And when he called the penny package, I went in, and each week the penny package changed. I would play nickel, I would play safety, I would play corner, and he would just move me around depending on who he was going to take out. He would take Marquand out, he would take Todd out, he would take Gus and move him to the nickel. He would take Robert Camardi out and put Lito into the bound. Like, he would play with the lineups depending on who we played, and that's how I got my snaps.
Okay.
All right. So that year, Gators finished number 3, 10-2. Spurrier's last season at Florida. What do you remember about his farewell speech, and how did that feel to you? Obviously, part of the reason that you came to UF.
I mean, it felt to me like it was like a slap in the face, because honestly, that was the reason why I went to the school, was to play for Coach Spurrier. And I know the cliche is, you don't go to school for a coach, but that's the main reason why I went to UF, was to play for Coach Spurrier. So to hear him say he was leaving, I in return debated transferring once Coach Zook got there.
How was the vibe there once Zook got there?
I mean, it was down because we lost so many good players that left early and had whose eligibility was up. So
yeah,
for the returning guys, it was kind of it's our turn. Like we're up next, we got to prove it. But at the same time, we didn't know who the coach was. We didn't know anything about him. Like we know that he was, a former coach at UF, but he was coming from the NFL as a special teams coach. So of course there was doubt on why did we hire this guy? Why is he here?
So the Gators go 8-5 that year, but you have your most prolific season in college thus far. You start every game, and you end the year with 53 tackles, 6 for loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 1 interception, and you earned first-team All-SEC honors. And I read an article online that talked about Zook saying something to you when he got there, something like, "Oh, like you're the big man, let's see what you got," or something like that. Can you tell us? Did he challenge you?
He did. He actually came in and he basically told me he wanted me to fill in and be Lito. He wanted me to take over, be the number one corner, follow the number one wide receiver, be the number one punt return, number one kick return. He said all of this in our first meeting we ever had, and I looked him in the eyes and I told him I wanted to transfer.
Wow.
Like at that time, when the new coach came in, I thought to myself, when new coach come in, I'll be able to tell him, move me to wide receiver. Jabbar's gone, Richey's gone. Like all the old upperclassmen that were playing are gone. So the guys I came in with are up next. I felt like I was the best receiver in that crew, so I felt like I can get back over to the offensive side. When he told me his plan was to put me as the number one corner, I felt like we didn't see eye to eye. So I asked to leave.
How did he react to that?
He told me, because back then there was no portal. You had to get your transcripts from the head coach. So he told me give him 24 hours and think it over. And when I came back the next day, he told me he was going to start me both ways. And I talked to my high school coach, Coach Gordon. Coach Gordon told me on the phone, he said, hey, because you got to remember that year, Jim Tressel had just got to Ohio State. So it was like, okay, now Ohio State is looking like an attractive place for me now. Jim Tressel is there. I go back home. I've been in Florida for 2 years. They told me I was going to play wide receiver. I've been playing DB. Woe is me. So when he told me I was going to start both ways, my high school coach told me, if you start both ways one game at the University of Florida, I guarantee you will get drafted. I can't say where, but you will be drafted. And I went back in that day and I told him, all right, I'll stay. And that's how I ended up playing both ways my junior year.
Yeah, you sure did. Start at receiver versus Georgia and South Carolina. And did it take you a while to get that muscle memory, scratch that itch on offense?
Now, I mean, it was all camouflage when they were playing me on offense early. But for the bowl game, I got to actually practice with the offense and got plays, and I actually caught a touchdown against one of my a childhood friend in Marlon Jackson, who's also from Youngstown, Ohio. So, and he was a first team All-American, all Big Ten caliber DB. So once I caught that touchdown, if you go back and look, going into the spring, my senior year, I didn't practice at all on defense for those 15 practices my senior year. All 15 practices were on offense.
All right, well, that South Carolina game was kind of interesting. You played defense, you caught passes, and threw a 21-yard pass to Rex Grossman, and also carried once for 8 yards. So you kind of did everything. And when we say dynamic, clearly we weren't kidding. Obviously, Zook was definitely more open to using you in kind of a multifaceted way compared to Spurrier, right?
Like I said, that's my guy. Like Coach Zook was one of those guys that, like, he was a rah-rah guy. He was loud. He was energetic. He was always super emotional when he talked to big groups. But when you got and sat down with him in small groups and one-on-one, he was a genuine coach. Like, he was a straight shooter. He told you what he needed from you. He would demand stuff from you, but when you did it, he would always reward you. So I was always willing to run through a brick wall for Coach Zook. Win or loss, I know he had my back.
Any idea why he didn't have the success maybe you guys thought he might have at UF?
Because early on, it was hard. You coming in replacing a legend. And then you come in and you try to change the whole dynamic. And then you have a guy like Rex Grossman who, arguably could have already had Heisman by the time you inherited him. And now you're changing everything that he's been taught, and he believes in Coach Spurrier's way. And then you have guys on the team who were Spurrier guys, and then Zook came in and played his guys. So it was just a lot of politics. But that national championship team in '06 was built by Ron Zook.
Definitely. Well, then comes your senior season, and you really cement your legacy that year. 49 tackles, 6 passes deflected, SEC leading in UF single season record, 9 interceptions. Did you see that coming? Obviously, you knew you had it in you, but
honestly, that my senior year I didn't see coming. Because, like I said, I thought that I was going to be a first-round draft pick, a wide receiver, my senior year. And then in the spring game, I played both ways. I had 2 pick sixes in the spring game, and that's when Coach Strong came to me and was like, "Listen, you're gonna miss out on a whole lot of money by thinking you're an offensive player." And I remembered that, it stuck out in my mind because he always used to. He never gave me any compliments. He never said anything nice. If you know Coach Strong is like one of those coaches that's gonna challenge you before he ever pat you on the back. You do something good, he's gonna give you another challenge instead of saying good job. So when he came to me and said that to me, I knew he meant it. So going into my senior year, during fall camp, we had Renato Hill, we had D Webb. D Webb was number 1 corner in high school. Renato Hill was number 1 corner in JUCO. So those two were supposed to come in and be ready to go, but we played Miami early on. So that's when it was like, all right, you know what? Let me buy in. I don't want to put everything on a freshman's plate and a JUCO kid's plate when they just got here and I've been through the fire. So I finally just said, you know what? If I'm being DB, I'm gonna do it my way. To hell with it. And Coach Strong was the one that came to me probably in the Ole Miss game. He came to me and was like, listen, stop being a robot and go play football. And once he said that, then that's when I just said, forget what the scripts say. I'm playing ball.
So baseball players, when they're put in to play a different position, sometimes it can affect them psychologically at the plate and defensively. Do you think getting the opportunity more to practice and getting plays on offense made you more comfortable and in a better mindset on defense? And maybe that had an effect on that senior year where you just let it go?
It actually had an effect on me on defense because I've seen things happen now. From playing that, and those 15 practices, majority of them were in the slot. So I was playing in the slot at the slot receiver where I was getting a lot of bubbles and reading the hots and things like that. So when I got to the outside at corner, my senior year, I was very cocky. I was very arrogant. I played with a sense of this number 1 receiver on the outside ain't even here because I'm over here. You ain't going to throw it over here. So I played off. When people are like, oh, you played off, oh, you never pressed. I would be a man, but I would play off so that I can see 2 and 3. So now I'm reading 2 and 3. If 2 do something, I know what 3 is doing. If 3 do something, I know what 2 is doing. So if they're reading man, the quarterback is never reading the outside corner. So that offensive philosophy and mentality allowed me to see the game differently from a defensive side of the ball.
Well, like Sid mentioned, certainly a huge year for you that year, and you got named team captain. So what does being named team captain mean to you that year?
That meant everything to me, honestly, because your teammates' opinion of you is what really matters, in my opinion, as a football player. Like, when you talk to guys that I played with, whether it was for 6 months or 6 years, their opinion matters to me. So, those are the guys that you do everything with. They see you grind, they see you practice, they see you, when you're going out, they see all of you. So when they come together and say, you know what, this guy is one of the guys that we want to represent us as a whole, that's stamping you, and that's stamping all the hard work, and that's stamping all the efforts that you put in times that a lot of people don't see. That's letting you know that it's being seen by those that you care about.
Well, let's talk about more accolades due to that effort that year. And this may take a while, so Andy and Sid, sit back. First team All-SEC again, second time. Consensus All-American, only the 4th Gator DB to earn that designation. Sporting News Defensive Player of the Year, only the 3rd Gator to earn that. Finalist for the Thorpe Award, that's for the best defensive back. And I looked up who won it. I don't know if you remember, Derek Strait from Oklahoma, and he only had 3 interceptions that year. Do you feel that you should have won that?
I mean, looking back on it, at the time, I didn't care about those awards. I was just happy to be there, celebrating, and being seen as one of the top 3 DBs in the country. That was enough for me. But now looking back at it and rewinding times, it was definitely me or Sean Taylor that year.
Well, that's right. That's right, Sean Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
You matched Derek's 3 interceptions for his whole season in just 1 game versus Arkansas. You had one of the best games ever by a Gator. I mean, come on. You take one to the house. In addition to that, you had 9 tackles, 3 pass deflections. Like, that's like a season for some players. You did that in 1 game. So I don't know what those voters were looking at, but that's pretty impressive.
Well, at the time, Oklahoma was ranked number 1, and they were 11-0. So they cleaned up with all the awards. Teddy Lehman and Tommy Harris, and they had a loaded team at that time. Like they had a lot of guys. Even the quarterback won the Heisman, Jason White. So they won a lot of awards that year.
Maybe they should have won less, though. One less, at least.
Well, Sid mentioned your 3 interceptions in 1 game. That's a Gator record, and there's a bunch of guys that have that, right? I must mention that I also, as a Gator, had 3 interceptions in 1 game. Intramural flag football. Well, hold on. It's been a while since I've told the intramural flag football story.
Yeah, we are due for another one of those.
That is true.
I had met a nice young lady on campus. I invited her to the game. Andy was on my team. Sid, I think you played that frisbee golf or something, but me and Andy played football.
Frisbee golf's fun.
And, man, the quarterback kept throwing my way. And these weren't just like hand-me interceptions. I mean, it was like leaping, fingertips. And after the second one, I was insulted he kept throwing it, my way. Did you get the same feeling in that game when you had 2 and he still was throwing it to your side?
Well, not really, because once again, like I said, if you go back and watch the film, the quarterback is making the right reads. Like, he's doing what he's supposed to do on paper. Like, so you don't get insulted by somebody doing what they're supposed to do. It was just I wasn't playing on script. So he wasn't expecting me to be there when my guy is running a clear out route 15 yards away from this route. So, I mean, I laugh when I watch the film sometime because I can't believe more quarterbacks didn't pump me. Like, if they would have just pumped once or twice in their first, because I would always do it as early as possible. So if they would pump early, they would have gotten me. But they didn't, so, can't erase history.
Who was your toughest assignment to cover when you were at UF?
My toughest assignment at UF was Derek Abney at Kentucky.
Interesting.
Yes, I remember, I think it might have been my sophomore year, where he took a punt back, took a kick back, and he caught a slant for a touchdown on me. So I know he had at least 3 touchdowns in that game.
Let's switch gears just a little bit here. You've talked a lot about, your passion for playing receiver, but you finished your career with a then UF record 860 punt return yards. Was returning punts something you enjoyed?
I mean, honestly, it was just something that was natural. I never really thought about it. I never really thought like, oh, I want to be the best punt returner. I want to be the best.
Sure.
It was a way to get the ball. So when I was playing DB, like as a freshman, I was like, hey, I'll return punts. So I just went back there just to touch the ball. So it was just, like I said, it was a means to getting the ball in my hands. So anytime I could touch the ball, I was all for it.
All right, 2004 NFL Draft. And it comes, and you're picked in the second round by the Bengals, going back home up to Ohio. Was that special for you, or did it matter what team picked you?
Honestly, it didn't matter what team picked me. I just wanted to say that I made it to the NFL, and my lifelong dream had been fulfilled. But to be able to go back home was kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I had been gone away for some years for college, and I, spread my wings and become independent, and then getting drafted back home. Like the old saying goes, more money, more problems, to where now I'm closer to family and I'm reachable.
Well, you had a pretty solid 7-year NFL career, mostly with Cincy. Some stops in Tampa, Indy, and Pittsburgh. Some good numbers there: 161 tackles, 5 more interceptions. What are some of your memories of some of your favorite teammates from the pros, and anyone you keep in touch with still that we'd be surprised you talk to regularly?
It's a lot of guys, and it's weird that some of the guys that you competed against become some of your closer friends. Like once they become teammates at other places, so it's weird just working with guys and being around guys that you competed against. Because one of the guys that's one of my closest friends now is one of the guys that I liked the least on the field in Terrence Edwards at Georgia. Like, me and him ended up being super close, working together for years doing football camps and things with the youth to where he's a great dude. Like, and on the field, I may have said some things to him where I wouldn't like me right now. But, he was able to understand that was just between the white lines.
Yeah,
So, he's one of my close friends. Like I have a lot of friends. Like we still have Bengals group chats where it's 7, 8 of us still in there with TJ Hushmanzada and Delta O'Neal and Hernandez Jones. So I mean the list goes on. That's why I said your teammates' opinion it means a lot. So like a guy like Dexter Jackson, who was a Super Bowl MVP and a Florida State legend, is one of my closer friends from our time in Cincinnati, and we've never really got into the back and forth on the Florida State thing because we're men now. We're grown. We're taking care of kids, and it's about our families and it's about our livelihoods. And the brotherhood is different once you put that helmet on, and you make it to that next level. You understand that the NFL is really not for long. So a lot of those guys you still talk to and reach out to because they become family.
Do you and Lito still keep in touch?
I talk to Lucky Lito all the time. Like that, Lito, that's my dog. That me and him will always be tight. We don't have to talk for 2 years, but if I see him, we fall right back in place. Like we're both Aries. We're a week apart. Like it's unfortunate that I had to go through what I had to go through to where we couldn't be on the field more at Florida, but the time that, like I said, that we did have, he helped build and shape my mentality for me to go out and be the player that I was.
Let's talk 2008. You have a pretty special moment on the field there playing for the Colts against Gerard and the Jags. Why don't you take us through that play? Let Andy and Sid know what happened on that play.
Okay, so it was I had a setup a little earlier. We were playing like the wall defense before halftime, so I got to set that play up. So it's 3 guys. You got the flat, you got the middle, and you got the deep on the side. You make them throw the ball inbounds, tackle them, we get off the field, halftime. He pumps me being greedy. I go to jump it and try to get a pick instead of just getting out at halftime. He hits a whole shot in there. They get a field goal. So now that puts them up 10. So now it's like, oh, man, I go in at halftime, and Tony Dungy doesn't curse. But what he was saying might as well have been curse words. Like, they were piercing. Like, and I felt them because it was a dumb play by me. I took a gamble at the wrong time. So now, fast forward, it's fourth quarter, and I think now I'm not sure of the score. I think we may have been down 3, may have been tied, we may have been down 4, something like that. It was a close game. Fourth quarter, tight game. 3rd and 2. I'm on Dennis Northcutt. I was just telling somebody this. I covered Dennis Northcutt more than anybody in the NFL. It seemed like everywhere I went, he was in that conference. So, and with Dennis Northcutt, I started, at this point, I kind of could read his routes. So I knew that on 3rd and short, they ran little quick outs, little press outs with a little skinny little slant behind it by number 1, or they ran all slant. So in my mind, we were in man-to-man. I said, if Dennis Northcutt does one step and go inside, I'm letting him go. You know what? He went one step, went inside. I let him go, and I just took off running towards the sideline. And I said, please throw it, please throw it. And David Garrard did what he was supposed to do on paper. Got to that 3rd step, turned, released, let the ball go. I was already there. Ball hit me dead in my face mask because I was so close to him almost. And Bobble caught it, pick six, and that pretty much sealed our playoff fate that year because we started off 3-4. We had a 9-game run where we ended up being a 2 seed and making the playoffs, but that game clinched the division for us.
Very nice.
If there was one receiver, college, pro, all time, that you would want to match up against, who would that be?
Ooh.
It would be Jerry Rice.
Nice.
I have to be Jerry Rice. I mean, to me, like he was the best, and he was
go at the best.
He was the one that was an overachiever, so to speak, as far as skill set goes. So, for me, I wasn't the most athletic, the fastest, the biggest, strongest. So I got by with my mind, and I feel like Jerry Rice got by with his mind, and that made his lack of athleticism not be as bad, as much of a detriment. So a guy like that is about route running and precision and timing. Those are the guys that I like to match up against because it's a mind game more than a physical game.
Great answer.
Sure. Hey, you can't go wrong with Jerry Rice.
All right, let's move on to 2014. Pretty big year for you. You're inducted into the UF Athletics Hall of Fame. How'd you find out you were being inducted? Like, what's that story? How was that call? And tell us how much that is of an honor to you.
I mean, I was floored because, like I said, I still see myself as a young guy. I didn't think I was old enough to be even considered for that. Like, so it was shocking in that way, in that respect. And then at the same time, it was even more shocking because being an athlete, we're competitors. We compete with everything. I mean, like I do. I know I do. I don't know how to turn it off. If we're playing tic-tac-toe, I'm trying to win, like every game. Like if we're playing basketball, I'm trying to win every game. So I pay attention to those before me. And to know that guys that I came in with that done it on a high level hadn't got that call yet, and I got it before them, it made it even more shocking for me.
UF Hall of Famer, all kinds of accolades. Do any of those achievements stand out to you more than others? Like, what's your go-to? What are you most proud of your time in Orange and Blue?
I got a few. SEC championship off the bat, like
nice.
That is because the SEC now, like it wasn't respected as heavy now back then as it is now. Mm-hmm. Like now it's looked at as the godfather, I guess, of college football. There's big bad SEC. But to have that SEC championship, to know that we did accomplish one, especially thinking that at that time we were going to be there 4 years in a row, to have that. And the Hall of Fame is the ultimate honor that you can receive at a university. It's the cherry on top of the career. It's the brick outside. It's those things that I can take my kids back and they can take their kids back to go and still recognize. But for me, the one thing on the field the one stat that I love the most is that in 2002, I was the only player in the country to catch a touchdown and have a pick six.
That's right.
After football, you go back and get your degree from UF, and you actually get a job as assistant director of player personnel. And you've since taken a similar job at FSU. So in the mornings when you're getting ready to leave for the day, is it like, am I going to wear my Knoll gear or my Gator gear, or how's that? What's that all about?
Well, yeah, that goes back to my statement as far as as families and being adulthood in adulthood now.
Sure.
Like I chose Florida at 18. I chose them again at 19, and Florida will always be in my blood. That's my university my alma mater, where I got a lot of brothers and a lot of family members through that university. Now I met my wife at University of Florida. She was also a Gator athlete. So Florida will always be in my blood. But in the profession that I'm in, as far as college coaching or recruiting or whatever you want to call it, I have to be loyal to the paycheck. So
understandable.
Those that are the butter in my bread is who I'm loyal to. So that being said, I'm definitely putting on my Seminole gear right now.
Fair enough.
Can't argue against that.
What sport did she play?
My wife, she ran track.
How'd you meet her?
She actually stayed in the dorms.
She was in the bed with you when the guys drug you out of there to shave your head.
She's definitely there and watched that. She definitely saw that. Like, she laughs about it and jokes about it now. But yeah, she actually stayed in the same dorms as me, and you know, in the beginning we were just friends, like, but walking to class and we had a lot of classes together, and we went to the same cafeterias, and we had similar schedules, so we were around each other a lot, and it eventually grew into something.
Was she faster than you?
Well, see that
Ooh.
now she may have beat me. She may have beat me in the 40, but she couldn't beat me in the 100.
Good deal. All right, Keiwan, we usually end the show with a bit, and we're going to try a new one today. How about that? It's called You or Trivia.
All right.
We're going to ask you 5 trivia questions, and let's see how many you can get right. You ready?
Okay.
Number 1. Who had more interceptions in their career in college at UF? You or Joe Hayden?
Me.
Is that your final answer?
That's right.
Ding, 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 ding.
It is
Yes.
you. You had 12, I believe, and he had 8.
Now, I want to put an asterisk by a few on my career because I had some 2-point conversions and bowl games that didn't count.
Okay.
But, you know, that's neither here nor there.
All right, number 2. Who had a higher punt return average? And we're going to go to your FSU ties here now. One of the best punt returners in the universe ever, you or Deion Sanders? Who had a higher punt return average in college?
Deion.
Final answer?
It's a trick question.
Yes.
Nope, it's a push. You both averaged 11.3 yards a punt return in college.
Very impressive.
How about that?
Oh, that's wow.
So
I had no clue what his was. I just assumed.
listen,
it was high.
can I call you Rat? I don't know, but if you
Of course.
listen, Rat, if you ever see Coach Prime at an FSU event, you got to bring that up.
I'm not so sure he'd be at those events right about now.
Well, yeah, he's
a little busy in Colorado.
He's busy.
All right, number 3. Who had more receiving touchdowns at UF? You or Emmitt Smith?
Me?
Emmitt had 2. I think you had 1.
Oh, I was like, wow, why would you even ask that? That seems like a no-brainer.
I can't have you win everything here. All right, number 4? Who had more tackles? You or Keanu Neal?
Keanu Neal.
By 1. 134 to 133.
Oh, I got to tell. Yeah, I got to tell him about that.
Yeah, he only got you by 1.
Is that surprising to you?
Yeah, that is very surprising to me because I coached Keanu in high school, so
oh, nice.
I know the type of headhunter he is. So.
big hitter.
He was hurt a lot, but he did have an amazing senior year with us.
Yes, he did.
Number 5. Who had more total touchdowns in their college career? You or Lito?
Me.
That's right.
You did. You had 6. He had 3. I do have a bonus question here. Who had more total touchdowns in their college career? You or Neon Deion?
Deion.
Nope. Push. You both had 6.
Another trick question.
Another one. Look at that.
I'm gonna go with Deion on every question you ask.
Hey, that's impressive how you stack up with them. You're pushing on all these major stats.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's impressive how I included FSU stuff in our Gators podcast.
That's surprising.
We're not going to make a habit out of that. That was just on your behalf, since you're now a friend of the show.
All right. Keiwan, man, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on with us. One of the most dynamic. I mean, you did everything at UF besides kick the ball. You scored from everywhere. You threw touchdowns. No, you didn't throw a touchdown, did you?
No, but I do got a 100% completion percentage.
Nice.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Who has a higher quarterback rating, you or Chris Doring?
Yeah, I was about to say he had a few.
But Doring, I think, threw it a lot more. I think he had 4 or 5 passes. So that wasn't fair. Yeah. But Keiwan, man, I appreciate this so much. I know we've been working a while to get this done, and we finally got it to happen. And, man, it's been such an honor to have you on our show. So thank you so much for taking the time for us.
I appreciate y'all, for even thinking of me for your podcast. And like I said, it was an honor just to relive some of those memories.
Well, we appreciate it. It was great to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got you.
Finally got Keiwan.
Yeah, we did.
Man, that was worth the wait.
Wow. Our friends of the show make quite a secondary now.
That is true.
Yeah, it was definitely worth the wait, man. And I love the insight you get from these guys.
Yep. I was gonna say the same thing. The insight, especially with him, that was really cool to hear some of that kind of behind the curtain stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny because as fans, we only see what we see on TV and at the games, But talking to all these players from different eras and seeing behind the curtains at all these different time frames, it's like putting together a huge puzzle, right? Of coaches and Gators and relationships and playing time and depth charts. And man, it's just awesome to be soaking that all in. And I hope Gator Nation is appreciating it, the effort that we're putting in to give this to them. And it's pretty special. And they could always keep up with us at allforthegatorspodcast.com. 4 is the number 4.
Well done.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys dropped or not.
You're on a roll.
Yeah, we don't want to walk on what you're doing there, man.
No reason to interrupt you. No reason to interrupt.
That's right. The floor is yours.
I don't know. Andy's been known to drop before the 2 bits before, so.
Fair enough.
He's a busy man.
Speaking of 2 bits, let's get right to it.
Who's first today?
I'll go first. And it was going to be a question that I was going to have in the interview, but I didn't put it in. But he said it. Without Lito Shepherd, there's no Keiwan Ratliff. And there's no Keiwan achievements at UF, records at UF, success at UF. It's all because of Lito Shepherd. And I just thought that was a great story to hear, especially since I wanted to ask him it. So that was my 2 bits.
Yeah, no, that was definitely interesting to hear him say that without Lito, Keiwan transfers, right? And then when Zook came in, he was going to transfer again. So he definitely had a couple times where probably today, with the transfer portal the way it is, it being so much easier to leave, I'm not so sure he would stay his whole career today,
Yep.
So, glad the rules were the way they were back then, so he could stay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, I'll go next. I thought it was interesting about what he said about Coach Strong relating to defense versus wide receiver. He was definitely you could tell the passion was there for the offensive and to play wide receiver. I mean, he felt like he was a starting wide receiver, and it really didn't sink in about playing defensive back until Coach Strong, someone who doesn't say a whole lot, but he clearly respected, came to him and said, "Man, you're going to miss out on a lot of money if you keep thinking about playing wide receiver. You need to get your head on and play defense and go to the NFL and make money." And that's what he ended up doing. So I thought that was interesting that was kind of the turning point, because it was late in his career, right? He was still thinking wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver.
Yeah, clearly Coach Strong was right about that.
Yeah, it afforded him the comfort in mind and body to relax on defense. And look what happened that senior year. He exploded. So, yeah, awesome. I was going to actually pick that, Andy. That was my next one if I didn't pick mine. So, cool. Good deal. Mr. Sid?
Yeah. I was kind of going in the same vein, but I'm going to circle back. Kind of a 2-bit we've had before. I love the affection for Coach Zook. We bring this up all the time because, he was between the 2 championship coaches and, it was a little underwhelming, but you got to see Zook really, really had a special connection with his players, even players who on first meeting, the first thing he said to him is, "I'm out of here." By the time he left, even though he didn't get that SEC championship glory that he had with Coach Spurrier before, you could still hear the appreciation and the affection that he had. So I do hope future friend of the show, Ron Zook, could come on, because he sounds like a great guy. And, when he does, we have a lot of reference points on his former players who clearly think very highly of him. So I think Gator fans need to revisit our memories on Coach Zook and what he did for our school. Obviously, at the time, he was just the guy who replaced everybody's favorite, and that was tough shoes to fill. But he really was clearly an important figure in all these guys' lives, and he does deserve the credit for that.
Awesome.
Well said.
Great 2 bits, fellas. Really good ones.
I also like the nickname 99.5.
99.5.
Yeah, that's your 3rd bit, because that was pretty classic. I like that.
That's good.
That was pretty funny.
Andy, do you remember my 3-interception intramural game?
I don't remember.
What?
My memory's not what it used to be.
Come on, man. One of the greatest games of my life.
Sure, I remember it.
John
I got it. Yes.
Really disappointed. Yeah, come on. Throw him a bone. Yeah.
I remember thinking after the second one, there's no way they're going to throw to you again, and then they did. I don't get it.
That's a better answer. I like it.
That's what John was going for.
Well, what was funny was when I told him, and then I asked him if he felt the same way about being mad, he went off into like the strategy, like the reads. He's reading the quarterback and the routes of the receivers, and he knew, and it was the play that. And I didn't make a read. I just watched the ball. You know, I was just an ignorant college kid just jumping for the ball. So it just shows you the difference, you know, between an SEC Defensive Player of the Year, consensus All-American, UF Hall of Famer, and myself. So.
All right. Good job, John. Yes.
Right.
Way to compare yourself to a Hall of Famer. Nicely.
Were you waiting to take that big sip all show, Sid?
I was sipping all show.
Oh, okay. All right, fellas.
That's a way to end it right there.
Yep. All right, guys. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.